So it is the end of week 2 of NaNoWriMo, and I am here for my week 2 update. This is me from the future just inserting myself in this video because my computer died last night. It came back alive this morning for some weird reason, so I'm not like super confident in it. I do have this computer behind me, but obviously I like the freedom of having a laptop and being able to go places and write. So I hand wrote last night. I haven't been able to finish editing the video. I was gonna try to finish it last night, and literally the minute after my son fell asleep, I opened my laptop and it wouldn't come on. I went so far as to like start trying to take it apart and realizing I don't have the right screwdriver, and I just put it aside. I wrote on paper, I watched a ton of YouTube and went to sleep, and this morning it just worked. So I backed up everything that I had. I'm praying that it stays alive, but you know, you never know. So I just wanted to let you know about that, just in case it does die for real this time. And the videos, well, I guess if you're watching this video, then I've uploaded it, but week 3 has been the worst so far, by far. So we'll see how the rest of this week goes. But here is my week 2 update, where I was still positive and hopeful and motivated. So here you go. Before I start, I wanted to mention that I went back and I watched some of my videos from around the same time last year, just to see where I was at with my story and what I was thinking about, and it's crazy like what a year can do. It's weird because it doesn't feel that long ago, but I was so tired back then. My son was like 7 or 8 months old, and he was not sleeping through the night still. He was still breastfeeding a lot. I was just like not sleeping a ton, and you could see it on my face and you could hear it in my voice, and I feel like this year has just been so much easier, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm finally feeling like myself again. I could probably do a whole video on like the transition of being a mother with a newborn in writing, and then, you know, having a toddler in writing and how much easier it is. Like, despite the fact that he wrote on 2 couches yesterday with a pink permanent marker, it's so much easier. Like, that I can deal with. The crying without like being able to communicate what's wrong, that was what really frustrated me, especially when it was like 4 o'clock in the morning and I had to get up and go to work. But yeah, so I'm still on track. I am not to 25,000 words, which is where I wanted to be today. But I wanted to let you know kind of how I did this week. So day 8, I wrote 1,777 words. Day 9, I wrote 1,028 words. Day 10, I wrote 2,025 words. Day 11, I wrote 1,717 words. Day 12, I wrote 1,748 words. Day 13, I wrote 2,155 words. And then yesterday I wrote 1,076 words. So I had a couple bad days and then some good days. My best day was the day before yesterday. I wrote the most I've written all month, I think. And that was great because I was out of town actually. My parents are both retiring, so I went to a lunch that their work threw for them. And so I was there, and I was lucky. My dad was like, go write, I'll watch Jeb, my son. And I went to Starbucks and they were playing like all of my favorite Taylor Swift songs from her older albums. It brought me back to that first NaNoWriMo that I did and won. And I listened to Taylor Swift that entire November, I think. And I just like got emotional. I was like, this is what I love about writing, just being able to like focus completely on a story. Her music is really good for writing because it's like comforting and familiar, and you can really focus on writing without getting too lost in what's going on. I was only there for like 2 hours and I wrote over 2,100 words, so it was just crazy that I could get that much done in that short amount of time when I am not able to do that normally, like with my son awake or even when it's 1 in the morning. So I wish I could have more times like that, but I definitely appreciated it while I was in the moment because those times are few and far between. My worst day, I wrote 1,028 words. So the night before, we don't really have like typical weekends because my boyfriend works night shifts randomly, and then I only work 4 days out of the week. And so Thursday night was kind of like our Friday night or Saturday night last week, and we had my boyfriend's mom watch our son, and we actually stayed out till like 2:30 in the morning. It was insane. And so I slept in the next day. It was glorious, but I did not get a lot done, which is fine because I'm still on track. I've even written some today, so I'm past that 23,376 mark that I was at yesterday. I'll be getting to 25,000 today. So overall, week 2 was not as bad as I was anticipating it to be, but like I said, I was preparing for it. I knew that it was one of my toughest weeks and I anticipated that, and so I feel like that helped also that I had that expectation going into it. I wanted to update about a couple of things that I talked about in the last video. I talked about the struggle to find the voice I wanted to use in this book, and I'm still struggling a little bit, but I'm more focused right now on just getting the story out. And I figured if I want to make a change, like if I feel like the writing is really not working for the point of view, I can do that later, maybe. So right now I've fallen into something that feels comfortable and feels appropriate, I think. And so that's good enough for me right now. I also, before I went out of town, I went out to dinner with my boyfriend and I talked about my book with him and kind of bounced ideas off of him, and he had a really interesting idea for the story. And something I hadn't thought of, which was crazy because I should have thought of it. So that was really helpful just to like talk to him about it and get his perspective because he is a very different person from me, so that it led me down an interesting path and gave me new excitement for the story that I didn't necessarily have before, so it kind of renewed my interest in it. And it is every year around this point that I start thinking about other stories, and I think that's just natural. As soon as things start getting difficult, you think about how things could be better. Every single year I think about this one story, kind of like a dystopian young adult novel that I started like when I was in college. I think I was a junior in college. And every year I'm like, I'm just not ready to write that yet. I don't feel prepared to write it. And I was thinking about this year. I wasn't like really tempted to go write it, but I thought, like, I feel ready. I feel like writing is coming a lot easier than it used to. And I'm in the right mindset. I could do it. So maybe that could be my next project. I really want to have something like polished and sent off. It's the scariest thing to me, but I know it needs to happen just so I can figure out where I'm at. Like, am I at the point where I can start publishing books? Or do I need to practice more? Do I need to keep working at it and then send it out? I don't want to send anything out prematurely just to be rejected. I need to get to the point where I feel confident enough in a draft that I feel like this is a good representation of who I am as a writer, and I'm proud to send it out. And I just haven't been to that point yet. And so it's definitely going to take some work, but that's what I'm working towards. And I've been thinking a lot about this story and how, like, at the end of it, I don't know if it's going to be something that's going to be easy to edit. I probably felt this way last year as well, and then it turned out being a really great experience editing it. I'm looking at this as good work experience. It's different for me, writing in third person and writing from a male perspective, like only one perspective and it being male. I am really enjoying it and I'm just taking it as it comes. I'm not stressing out too much about it. I'm just letting myself enjoy writing it. And like, I wrote a twist the other day, a twist in the story, and I literally got chills. And that's like the moments I love about writing. I feel like this year's just been going really well. It's been, I don't want to say it's been easy because I feel like I'm gonna jinx myself. Week 3 has been the worst so far, by far. Especially with Thanksgiving coming up, but it's been kind of easy. I have not been sleeping, so that is a goal that I will still have in the next week. I've been writing a lot after my son goes to sleep, and that's fine. Like I said, it would be nice to get more sleep, especially so I don't get sick like I did last year. It's funny, every time my son sees this notebook, he sees me writing in it, so he does things like this. He writes in it also, and I think it's cute. I do take it from him so he doesn't scratch out anything too important, but I do think it's sweet. And there is one more thing that I wanted to talk about before I go. So something I've been thinking a lot about is my platform as a writer. And I use the word platform because I don't know what word perfectly captures what I'm trying to talk about, but as a teacher, especially an English teacher, you go into the classroom with a goal in mind, and every teacher has their own specific agenda, not in a negative way. But they all have something that they like to focus on, and it's easy to focus on different things while you're teaching literature. So mine was always, you need to learn to express yourself in a way that people listen to you and you can communicate your feelings, your opinion in a productive way. And so I feel like that has translated into my writing as well. I feel like all of my characters are people who have kind of been quieted by society, and the people in their lives don't listen to them, they don't take them very seriously. They have all this great insight and they are just frustrated because they've been taught that their opinions aren't worth sharing, or they just they can't express themselves. I think it's important to think about your voice as an author and what message you're sending with your writing, because everyone's gonna, you're gonna send a message with your book. It doesn't have to be a typical moral of the story. You're not teaching a lesson, but there's always going to be something in all of your books that reflects something you're passionate about. And mine just happens to be learning to use your voice and not letting yourself be stifled by society, and not letting yourself be controlled by society either. Learning to think for yourself and learning to do your own research so you know the information that's been fed to you, not just accepting things that are placed in front of you just because that's the way it is. And so that's something that's been really important to me. It's something that I loved teaching about, and it's definitely something that I love writing about. And in one of my previous videos this year, I talked about this NaNoWriMo season. I talked about the importance of having a purpose in writing. You shouldn't just write for entertainment purposes. There needs to be a bigger reason that you're writing. And I think when you figure out what you're passionate about and what you want to communicate, it makes writing a lot easier, and it makes your stories a lot more powerful. And sometimes you can do this inadvertently. Obviously you're gonna write about things that you're passionate about, so it just comes out naturally, but once you think about it and are able to control the ideas, I feel like it helps your story. It makes your book meaningful. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys have had a great week 2. This is the hardest point. But if you stay on track now and make it through this week and next week, the last week is good. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you again in my next video.